we go to set, we actually transform into another person. And I would like to believe that that's like our best side. That's like our Superman side. I'd look at Lil Wayne or I'd look at Busta Rhymes or whoever I was doing the feature with and be like, how can I make this the coolest experience for this person? Relationships outside of set has always been like my number one biggest thing. I create better when I feel comfortable with somebody. They're gonna create better when they feel comfortable with me. When we're in short form like this, we get to play with every tool, with every storyline, with every aesthetic.
It's tough being in the music video industry because a lot of times you'll have like 20 directors writing for a song.
I could imagine like being a newer director in like the state of music videos right now would be probably really hard. You're like a little fish in a big sea, and there's so much competition for every job, and there's not as much music video shooting right now. I've made a drastic change every 4 years, and very intentionally.
Like, how did you even start working with Justin Bieber?
It was one of his first songs ever. We shot in the Bahamas at the Atlantis Resort, and he was super young, like still a little kid. I really value that relationship because, you know, we can actually have cool conversations about ideas, and it's a good collaboration where you can actually feel comfortable throwing ideas against the wall and really build something together.
Colin Tilley is the creative force behind some of the boldest visuals in modern music, crafting era-defining videos for artists like Kendrick Lamar, Cardi B, J Balvin, Megan Thee Stallion, and Justin Bieber, all the way to campaigns for massive brands like Under Armour and Yves Saint Laurent. Raised in Berkeley's creative chaos, he turned a DIY hustle into cinematic mastery. And now, he's stepping into feature films with his debut film, Eye for an Eye, proving that longevity isn't luck, it's evolution. Thanks for being here, bro. Colin Tilley. We made it, bro.
Yes, sir.
We made it.
Yeah.
You're here, bro.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Dude, thank you for coming.
This
is actually a little full circle for me because I grew up watching your videos.
Nice.
I was a Colin Tilley fan in middle school, high
Nice.
school.
Damn.
I've seen your stuff, bro.
I love that.
I've seen your stuff, and you were one of my main inspirations, I think, to get into it.
Nice.
You know, to get into the game. So thanks for coming, man. Seriously, this is like
course.
super dope for me.
Yeah. Oh man, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I think what I really enjoyed about your work was actually your youthfulness. Because we are now in a generation today where there's a lot of young filmmakers.
Yeah.
But back in the day, in like the 2000s, it was rare to have like a young 20-something-year-old filmmaker at that caliber that you were at, you know?
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, music videos, it was always just a big playground. And I tried to always treat it like that from the very beginning, even when I first started at 19 years old, shooting with my friends. And it's never changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
You had that youthfulness from the jump.
Yeah. Have to.
So tell me about your upbringing and what led you to music videos. Because from what I research about you, you didn't start out in music, right?
No. Yeah. So I went to Berkeley High, and at Berkeley High, it was just a great melting pot of culture and music and sports and just a little bit of everything, surrounded by everybody. Berkeley's just right in the middle of the Bay Area. So you get exposed to so much. And a lot of my good friends started making music early on. And I had just this love for music and love for the art of making music. So I'd always be in the studio watching people create. And it was definitely not my forte, for sure. I tried to, hop on some tracks and make music, and me and my friends had a band in high school, but it was not my thing. But I really wanted to be a part of the collaboration, and that's why I picked up a camera and I started shooting and learning how to edit off of YouTube tutorials and just going to Home Depot and buying a couple work lights and trying to figure it out. And it was just a pure, learn as you go, learn on set, trial and error type situation for me that ended up turning into a career.
Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
What prompted you to actually pick up the camera in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think it was, I would say in high school, I was part of this program called CAS, Communication Arts and Sciences. And we had a video class, and we kind of, like, my teacher, Miss Rasaya, taught us how to edit in class. And how to shoot random stuff, and we were kind of making things. And I think subconsciously during that, I didn't really pay attention in school, but subconsciously during that time, I was definitely picking up things like, oh, you can shoot stuff with a camera and make it interesting. And then when I circled back, when I graduated high school, I think a lot of those kind of skill sets subconsciously, were infused into my brain. And that's what made me think of, picking up a camera again.
That's iconic, bro.
Yeah.
And I went from my research, I saw that at one point you were doing skate videos too.
Yeah. So I wasn't shooting and editing the videos, but I was skateboarding in front of the camera.
Got it.
And my friend Tito, and that was another thing that actually led to it, because my friend Tito was shooting the videos, and then we'd stay at his house and he'd be editing them, and same with this guy Diego, and I'd watch them edit these things to music, and it was just so cool how you can manipulate the footage and turn it into like, our own mini movie. And so in high school, a couple of my friends and I made a full-on skateboard part, or like little mini movie called Casino. And so it had like 5 or 6 of our parts, and we put it all to music, and just being a part of that process was really, really, really interesting. And there was so much music involved in a lot of that too, because a lot of those skateboard friends were also like budding superstars at the time in music. It was like my friend L, who was Young L from the Pack.
Oh, sick.
And Keith, who was Stunna from the Pack, and Stroy, and a lot of these guys who were just like making so much great music at the time. So it was just this pure, crazy, creative, just environment where we were really going in.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You had so much exposure to music then.
Yes.
It seems like, right?
Yeah, a lot. Bay Area music.
Bay
That was
Area.
it. Yeah.
You grew up, you were born and raised in Berkeley, right?
Yep.
And so you were exposed to the culture. I mean, the culture of the Bay is so lively, bro.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
It is. And that was like peak hyphy movement at the time. And so we were just all obsessed with, going out every weekend and partying and, listen to, all the Bay Area music. And, it was just a really fun time.
Dude, that's iconic.
Yeah.
Bay Area is popping, man. I love the Bay.
Yeah.
My sister went to school in Berkeley at UC Berkeley, and she's like total opposite of me. Like, she's studying biomedical engineering and
cool.
Super like science wizard.
Yeah.
I'm over here trying to be a filmmaker. You know what I mean?
Hey, that's what happens. Yeah.
But every time I visited her in Berkeley, I was like blown away by the explosion of culture.
Yeah.
It's like everywhere you go. It's like total. It's just like a whole set of beliefs, way of life. It's like a slower way of life. Almost,
it definitely is. Yeah, it definitely is.
And it was almost humbling, because I think just being in LA pretty much my whole life, I just was exposed to this like go mentality.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about little things like composting my trash or like, I don't know. That's just a random example, but just their values, like the values she came back with when she graduated, she was like a whole different person. And that's like my best like memory of Berkeley, was just visiting her at that time and seeing this shift and change in culture.
That's super cool. So you got to visit her while she was at school? Yeah,
I got to visit her while she was at school and just explore. And I was going to go to school there too, out of high school. I ended up staying in LA, but I was able to visit a little bit too. And it would have been a nice change for sure. I don't know.
Did you go to film school?
I didn't. I went to UCLA, but I didn't do a film major. I did like an econ major.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I did like a film minor, but
And did you graduate as well?
I did graduate, yeah.
Okay, cool. So you were like also filmmaking at the same time?
Yeah, dude. I was simultaneously like I would go to class and then I'd go like edit or like PA on a set or direct something.
Nice.
Like low budget things,
Yeah.
And
that's amazing.
It was hard.
Yeah, that's a hustle.
It was a hustle.
Yeah. David, that's huge.
You went to school as well, right? Film school?
So I tried to go to University of Oregon after high school, and I made it about a semester and a half before I dropped out. And then when I got back, there was a little place in Berkeley called BDFI, and I went there for almost a semester as well before I dropped out. And school was never my way of intaking information.
Yeah.
I definitely was always like a kind of go for it, do it yourself guy. And so that was really my film school, is just learning as I went, trial and error, and learning on my own. Like that was the only way I could do it.
Mm-hmm. That's the best way to do it, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, when you were starting out too, like you have kind of learn everything, right? You know?
100%. Yeah, you do, and it's important. It's important to learn all those skills, and then once you start and I also didn't really understand the concept of, like, teamwork when it came to filmmaking at the beginning. I thought that I needed to be out there, driving my mom's SUV while hanging out the window with a camera while simultaneously lighting the thing and then going home and editing it right away and color correcting and
Yeah.
doing all the things. But what was great about it is, like, you're just kind of learning every single like nuance of the craft so that by the time you start actually understanding how important teamwork is with filmmaking, you have so much more respect for it.
We feel like we can do it all. And I think I'm assuming part of it just comes from maybe like a lack of trust in anybody else to get the vision, or is it an ego thing? Like, what do you think that stems from, Because I experienced the same thing,
Yeah,
you know?
it's quite interesting. I definitely think that well, I think that there's a little bit of ego in it, but I also think it's more so again the way that I like learned how to learn. I didn't want to learn from a teacher. I wanted
Yeah.
to learn from doing it myself and just
Mhm.
going out. And if I was going to fail, it was going to be on my own terms.
Mhm.
But then once you start embracing collaboration, it's like everybody's set out for the same vision, and if you're going to fail, you're all going to go down together at the same time. And so, like when you start to set that style of, you know, president when you get on set, it's like it's infectious, and oftentimes you're going to win a lot more,
Mhm.
and it's so much more fun. That's actually like why I've stayed, being a filmmaker all these years is because I love the collaboration. I love working with people, and that's really where I thrive.
Mhm.
Now it's like, I'm on set, I won't touch a thing, but I truly enjoy articulating what I want and how I want it done and the communication aspect of directing. That's what we do. We're supposed to surround ourselves with the very best at every single technical side of filmmaking, and that's how you're going to get the best product. But can you communicate that vision, in a impactful way, in a positive way that uplifts people, and that's when you fall in love with it over and over again every time you jump on set.
Dude, there was so many gems in there, bro. Like, you touched on trusting people, collaborating,
Yeah,
enjoying the process.
yeah,
And I think a lot of those things like held me back a little bit early on in my career because I had like a wall and I felt like I was
interesting.
closed off to a lot of people because I couldn't trust them, or they just didn't get it, or
Yeah, yeah,
and it took a lot of like I had to like mold myself to be able to open myself up to
yeah,
to
yeah.
to create that trust. And I think that's only because there were like a few bad experiences where,
Mhm.
early on I had a couple shoots and things just didn't pan out. And I think I was like mad at myself for giving them that trust. But it's like, it's not about that. It's about learning how to communicate your vision first and foremost.
Yeah.
Had I communicated my vision better in the first place, there may have not been those sour
Yeah, of
experiences.
course.
I think
Yeah,
at the end of the day, it was my fault, but it was just a lack of communication and understanding how to tell people what I want. Because as a director, you're like the captain of the ship, bro.
of course. Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
you're navigating that shit through all the choppy waters and getting them
of
through,
course.
from the start to the destination. And
Yeah, and if the project ends up failing, the blame falls on you. If the project ends up winning, the blame's on you.
yeah.
So it's like it's a really interesting concept, but that's why I think it's so much fun, and we rise to those high pressure situations. But the fun fact is, and I didn't realize this until I was like probably a decade into being a director, but my mom and dad have they ran a team building company for about 35 years.
Mm.
And so it's a company that they started on their own where they basically just would like work with high level CEOs and their teams and basically help them dissect the process of team building and working together and making sure that they're in an environment where they can like function and um, make their working environment more efficient. And so just on long drives and just every day, I think I was always hearing all of these conversations where they're sitting there talking about team building and leadership and all of these little gems that I was picking up, but subconsciously, really digesting a lot of that information. And so it wasn't until I actually really started to like have massive teams where I was like, oh, wow, I've actually been picking up all this great information from my parents all these years without even knowing it. And then they ended up being my best sounding boards that I could ever ask for because I talked to them about problems I was going through, communicating my vision or navigating the business side of the business and
Dope.
working with, difficult people, and whether it's the person that's hiring me or the people that I'm hiring.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of those things are elements that you have to navigate, but it all comes from team building and collaboration and leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just a really I'm super thankful that I had that experience my whole life without really even knowing it until later on, once I was like already a decade in, where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is such a useful tool I can use.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge, bro. So
Yeah.
you grew up and your parents were like doing this the whole time?
Yeah.
And were you ever in the room with them when they were doing this kind of leadership training?
So I never really got to experience them like live in the act, but I more so got to see their preparation process and how they would prepare for their different programs that they do with people. And it was a very similar process where it was like the preparation and putting together proposals, which is like our version of treatments, and kind of it's like a lot of games, and it's a
Mhm.
lot of psychology that they're testing out on different clients. And so essentially that's what we're doing every single day, right? We're putting
Mhm.
together a vision, and then on set we're using our psychology skills in order to get a job done. And it's like there's all of these parallel paths that I was started to pick up on.
Mhm.
And I was like, wow, this is like bigger than directing, this is like leadership 101 at its finest.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy how like filmmaking can translate or is almost parallel to like business, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
It's almost like a film is parallel to starting a business. When you
Yeah,
start a film, sometimes it's under a new LLC. You might need funding for it. It's like like starting like a company getting funded by a VC almost,
every single time.
right?
Every
Every
single
single
time.
time.
Every single time you're starting a film or doing a music video or whatever it is, yeah, it's a small business every single time.
We have a lot of business experience,
Yeah,
you
a
know?
lot of business experience. Yeah, and it's also like, along the lines of like leadership too, and I'm sure you experienced this along the way as well. But you hear early on when you first start learning about filmmaking and all the different positions, and um it's kind of this like lore that the director is supposed to be the one that's like instilling fear or
Mm.
yelling or whatever it is, because that's kind of like what you see in a lot of the behind the scenes footage or whatever it
Yeah.
is from like, or just stories in general. And I kind of always heard that lore. I was like, I will never be that way. That's never ever something I want to be able to
Mm.
like. Just living life like that doesn't sound
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Imagine having to wake up every day and like yell at your significant other in order to get something done.
Right.
That doesn't sound like the way that I want to live my life.
No, yeah. It's a good point.
Um, and so it was really interesting along the way of just experiencing, um, working with different teams and working with different people, and kind of navigating the energies that I wanted to be around, especially because filmmaking takes our whole life, and so you
Journey.
naturally start to put this circle together around you of like-minded energies
Mhm.
that can also be incredible technicians at whatever you need to get done on set, and you start making that kind of your family around you, right, every single time. And yeah, it interchanges, but you start to know what to look for. But it all comes from the position up top, which is our job, and being that leader and making sure you're setting that energy at a certain level so everybody feels like they are able to uh, create at their best.
Mhm.
I know I don't create my best if I'm getting yelled at by somebody,
For sure
or if
not.
I feel fearful
Yeah.
of proposing an idea or
Yeah.
whatever it is. And so that's always been my motto, is being able to create a set that's filled with positivity where people feel like they can express their ideas to me, and then you weed through. That's what our job is, to be able to, I welcome all ideas, and I want to be able to, make my decision and be decisive on what makes sense.
Mhm.
But that's how you are able to create the best environment to create in.
I think that's the most beautiful thing ever, bro. The fact that you're able to be a leader, spread that positivity, make people excited to come to
Yeah.
shoots. I think it was a Daniels. You saw the movie Everything Ever All at
Yeah, it was
Once?
so good.
So
Yeah,
good,
it was
right?
amazing. Yeah.
And they were saying, there was like a little interview they did, and they were talking about how like one thing that they lived by was they wanted every day to feel like summer camp.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Make it fun, make people excited. They knew, even though the hours were sometimes really long or gruesome or like really difficult, and the shoot could have been difficult on certain days, they still wanted to keep the morale up. So they wanted to create an environment that incentivized people and got them excited to come to set, you know?
100%. And it's like cool because you hear about the stories from that set and the experience that everybody had with them. That's why they're going to have a really long career in feature filmmaking.
Yeah.
Because they were able to create these long-lasting memories and good experiences for everybody that was on set. And it's like, that's what people want to do. If you're going to commit a year of your life to jumping onto a feature film, you want to make sure that that experience is going to be something that's going to make you feel good inside, you know? And by the way, like even when we work with artists and brands and, you know, for different commercials, it's like a lot of these people have really busy lives, way busier than we do. And so like that day or 2 days that they get on set with us, you want to make the best vibe ever because you know that like, yeah, it's still work for them. But like if they can walk away being like, man, that shit was so fun. I can't wait to do that again with Colin. Like that's everything, you know, even if, you know, along the way, I've made some really good videos and I made some really bad videos.
Hell no, bro. Your videos are amazing,
But
man.
by the way, most of the time, if it's a good video, you know we had a good experience.
Right. I see what you're saying.
If the outcome is bad, it's like, yeah, it probably was like, you know, shit went bad.
You really had a bad video though?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Come on, man. Which one?
I mean, I could name for a little while, but that's the beauty of it. You know, you get to be able to, and you know, we're all our biggest critiques.
Yeah,
of
for
course. Sure. But that is that's a big part of the process is like, you know, making sure that you're getting better every single time.
Yeah. You touched on a good note about doing this for a while, right?
Yeah.
Filmmaking's a journey. It's a lifelong thing.
Yeah.
And one thing that's so cool about you is, you know, in the beginning I talked about how I was watching you in middle school. I watched your early videos for Bieber and Chris and
so cool.
At like the early days.
Yeah, that's wild.
And it's crazy to see how even after all these years, bro, I'm a grown ass adult and you're still on top of your game and you're still crushing it. And it's
Thank you, man.
dude, thank you for inspiring people like me, bro. But what I'm so fascinated by is your longevity. You've been in the game for so long. You've been at the highest level for so long. You have maintained relationships and trust with not only artists, but brands and labels and I'm sure studios now for films, right? And like you like what I hear a lot from, because I've been talking to a lot of different production companies about potentially signing to them or maybe, I don't know, just like toying with the idea, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of them tell me, a lot of directors, they have like, we'll have a wave with them. I'm like, what does that mean, a wave? They're like, and like 3 different companies have told me this. They said there's a lot of times what happens, especially in commercials, is a director will become hot and they'll have like an amazing like year or two where every agency and every brand wants to work with them. But then they become kind of like almost like outdated. You get what I'm saying? And then they want to find the next hot director.
That makes sense.
And
we've seen it happen over and over again.
We've seen it happen. And you, I'm sure, especially you, because you've been in this for so long now. But even for me now, as I get older, because when I first started out, I was like just entering the cycle of being a director, right?
Yeah.
But now that I've gone a little older, now I'm seeing these new young directors come in. I'm like, holy shit, this is changing quick.
Yeah.
So my question for you is, considering that you've had such a long, fruitful career, like how are you able to maintain longevity and how would you recommend any director maintains their longevity? You know?
That's a great question. I think there's a couple things to it. Number one, change. I've made a drastic change every 4 years and very intentionally. And that change was just changing my environment and forcing myself to and not saying that everybody needs to do this, but a lot of times I would basically just start working with completely new people, almost start from scratch.
Like crew?
Whether it was crew or companies or whatever it was. I mean, if you look at my history, every 4 years I've changed to companies.
Production companies?
Yeah. And then I started Boy in the Castle. I did Boy in the Castle for 4 years. But after 4 years, I realized because I worked so hard during that timeline, and every time it's a new kind of like, kind of just boost of adrenaline, and I go so hard for that time, and then I'm like, cool, I feel like I've taken this as far as I can, and now it's time to switch up and do something new. So essentially, like in 2020, end of 2020, 3, I closed down Boy in the Castle. And I closed down Boy in the Castle because I was like, man, I've taken this as far as I can go. And if I want to be able to make the next transition in my life, which is to be making feature films, I can't keep running a business at this level where I'm doing a video or a commercial every week. And I'm just saying yes. And I'm like, I could feel myself get stagnant from a creative standpoint. And I've done that every single time because I'm like, I know I need to switch something up and feel a new energy. And I'm so receptive to people's energies around me. So oftentimes, even with crew, I'll be looking for like new, like younger crew to bring up and have them start working with me because I need that enthusiasm from them.
Yeah.
You know, I desperately need those energies where I'm like, can see that little light in their eyes when they see something magic on set, because otherwise, you know, and this happens sometimes, you know, you'll be on a, you know, big project or whatever it is, and you'll hire somebody based on like this epic reel, you know, from what they've done. But then you realize, man, like, are they even excited about this anymore? You know, like in between takes, they'll be on their phone or, you know, like, you know, I want to be able to have that energy between us while we're on set with every single one of my crew members where I'm like feeling on top of the world, because when we go to set, we actually transform into another person. And I would like to believe that that's like our best side. That's like our Superman side. That's our, like, you know, it's another side that I only feel come out of my body when I'm on set. When I go home, I'm like, hey, what's up, baby? What's good? Like, you know, let's chill out, you know. But it's like, it's a really cool feeling, and you need that to infuse that new energy. And then the second part of that is realizing that you, from a creative standpoint, you've kind of taken it as far as you can, like in a certain genre or in a certain style of video, whether it's like, I mean, there was a period when I was just obsessed with like making these elaborate set videos, and I'm like, cool, I'm done with this. I better shut this off real quick before it gets old for me. For
like,
me,
like
not for somebody else. Like, I'm not going to basically ever write another one of these treatments again. And I'm going to only push for something that feels like this, and I'll find something new to get excited about from a creative standpoint. And that's the thing. When we're in short form like this, we get to play with every tool, with every storyline, with every aesthetic, and you like aim to like nail these new aesthetics and nail these new storylines and really challenge yourself, because we're such challenge-based individuals. That's what we thrive on, you know, that's what we live and breathe on, is like, you know, setting a challenge and then going and executing it on the highest level possible and failing along the way. It's important.
Yeah, that totally makes sense, and I'm with you on that. But my question for you is, how do you get people to trust you when you're making that change? Because let's say someone's a fan of the Colin Tilley video with the giant sets and the crazy VFX, and you're like, hell no, I'm now going to 16mm film. I'm gonna make this dark and moody. And they're like, what? I want the old Colin. Like, how do you get your clients or get new clients to trust you with that, you know?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's like, it's definitely like holding out until somebody says, like, cool, let's go for it. You know, there's that like epic Matthew McConaughey story that, like, I don't know if you've read his book or not.
I haven't. Is it
but
good?
he had this, like, he was like the rom-com king, right? And it was like he was kept on getting these like multi-million-dollar deals every single time, and he felt this feeling of stagnance and was like, man, I better, like, I want to do the good stuff. I want to do the stuff where I can really hold out and like push myself as a creative and do something that like is an out-of-body experience. And so like he basically like went MIA for like 2 years until, and I'm probably butchering this story, by the way, but anyways, finally he went, and I think it was either Dallas Buyers Club or True Detective. It was one of those that hit first, or Mud. I forget, maybe it was Mud, but it was somewhere along those lines when he had that run of like all these incredible like indie projects where he was playing these dramatic roles and doing something completely different, uglying himself up and just going for it from a character perspective. And he changed the trajectory of his career, but that was from holding out and truly believing himself for having this vision. And so I think that every creative should do that in whatever aspect they can. When you kind of feel yourself like hitting a point where you're like, I don't really know if I can go further than this ceiling, and I definitely don't want to look back in 5 years and be like, why am I still doing this shit?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't want to be bored. I don't want to like feel like I'm taking this job for granted ever.
Right. I think I kind of hit that ceiling prior to starting this podcast, like, well, about a year ago now, to be honest. And I had like this epiphany moment, and I was like, dude, I'm getting older. My family's getting older. My life's changing. I'm no longer a kid in his early 20s. I'm not excited about the same things I once was. It's like,
Mhm.
do I want to keep doing this? And then every time I got hit up for like a treatment or a job, I was like, why am I not excited about this?
Mhm. Yeah.
Why am I not like down to pitch on this, even when the budget's dope, even when the
Mhm.
artist is dope? I'm like, that's when I realized something's wrong.
Yeah.
And it was like it was in 2022 when I first started really feeling it. And I hit like this crazy depression, dude.
Mm.
Like I'm so lucky my girl like accepted me and was bearing with me and tolerant of me,
Yeah.
because I was just like so lost, so confused. And at the time, Iran is my family's from Iran.
Yeah.
So the Middle East was going through chaos. Iran was they were protesting, there were riots. And so I was like dealing with a lot of family back home who were like experiencing insane government oppression. And so anyways, I'm saying this because a lot of things in my life just felt like they were not going how I wanted them to go.
Yeah.
And I basically told myself like, man, this is the time I think I need to really start changing things.
Mm.
This is 3 years ago. And from there I like put together a mood board of everything
Cool.
that I saw for myself. And one of them was a podcast.
Nice.
The other one was like feature films. The other one was other things I wanted to do on the side, even like fitness goals. I was
Yeah.
like, I kind of gained some weight and I kind of like was not like looking my best. So I put together this vision board, and that from there I was like, I need to just whatever my life needs to just follow in this direction. I'm going to look at this every day, and I'm just going to
That's important, man. That manifestation, right?
yeah.
Yeah. And how have you felt like that's been working as far as like your happiness from being able to follow those things that you've set out on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm way happier, bro. I'm way happier. I'm not like fully there yet, but I don't want to also feel like I'm chasing something endless.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if we just keep chasing something and we feel like we're never at the destination, what's life then?
Of course.
What about the journey? What
Of
about enjoying
course.
the journey?
You have to enjoy the journey, man. And I think that's the thing that's crazy about this industry is all of the pressure that people put on themselves for this idea that they put in their heads of success, whatever
Mhm.
that is. And, I've like run into a lot of people along the way that really felt like they couldn't truly be happy until they reached these very unrealistic goals that they'd set for themselves. And like, yes, it's important to set goals, but you can't let your happiness dictate those things,
Yeah.
or you can't let those things dictate your happiness. And it's really hard to take yourself out of that thing. But I think when you start to do things where you're like, oh, well, you know what are the things that I am in control of? First thing, fitness, right?
Mhm.
It's like eating healthy, going to the gym, doing things for yourself. Like automatically that's going to do something to your brain
100%.
and like help affect those things. But then it's
100%.
also setting out goals like starting a podcast, which you've done, and it's so amazing.
Thank you, bro.
And that right there is something where you're in control,
Mhm.
and you can go and set these sessions, and you have your voice, right? You can, if you didn't even have a single guest, you could sit here and do a podcast every single day, and it would be really interesting because you've got a lot to say,
Mhm.
right? And so it's like all of those things, like, yeah, it's just it's really interesting, the pressures of the entertainment industry, and it's perfectly valid too, because we're all entrepreneurs. Nobody
Mhm.
has a 9 to 5 job.
Nobody.
And so therefore you're of course going to set these, really tough work regimens, and you're going to kind of forget about your own mind. You're going to forget about your health. And I mean, that's happened to me several times along the way where, haven't felt my healthiest. And those are
Mm.
also the times where I'm like, I'm not feeling good.
Mhm.
And usually it's like around that 4-year mark where I'm like, oh, looks like no, I'm just kidding. But it all kind of equals out, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so it's just interesting how like our brains kind of get into these different patterns. But the more you become aware, that's everything.
Mhm. I I'm loving the 4-year cycle thing. I like, when you say that, I'm like, that kind of makes sense,
Yeah.
dude. And I love how you're doing that. I love how you're bold enough to take that risk, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of people are like signed to the same company for 10 plus years. They're doing the same things. It's mundane. And you're right. That's why they're not growing, because they're not switching things up.
Yeah.
You mentioned something interesting about success,
Yeah.
defining success.
Yeah.
Let's go back let's go back 2 cycles ago,
Cool.
8 years ago,
Yeah.
right? Or even 3 cycles ago, 12 years ago. What was success then versus what it is now?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I would say, I think for a long time, I would pretty much be setting, uh, okay, so success, well, okay, to answer your question, 8 years ago, success was making the biggest music videos that I could possibly make on the planet. And 4 years ago, it was being able to dive into the commercial world and
Mm,
be able to find, some consistency there. Not success, but consistency there, where I could feel like I was adapting to that part of the industry, which coming from music videos is pretty difficult,
yeah,
um, because it's kind of the same in every part of the industry where people want to see that you've done it before.
dude.
And it's hard for them to kind of like see past, oh, cool, you've done 200 music videos, but can you do a commercial? It's like a really like odd
It's so
concept, but also I
strange.
understand it to a certain extent because there's so much there's a lot of politics that you have to play within the industry itself, and there's a lot of different people that are in the creative room from an agency standpoint and a client standpoint, and there's just a lot of balance. And so that's just like an interesting world to have to dive into for music videos, where it's a music videos is a very free form art that we're really lucky to be able to do, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like there's not a lot of people being like, it has to be this way.
Less structure.
There's a lot less structure, and that's a good thing, and it's also a hindrance when you're trying to dive into something new.
Mm, mhm.
So once you start to like adapt to that stretcher, anyways, so I would say that, and then um, from there, essentially in 2023, when I closed down my company, the new goal was to be able to make the transition into feature films.
Nice,
And
dude.
so that's something I'm actively working on and
Nice.
takes time.
Yeah.
And you got to enjoy the process because it takes a long time. It's really interesting, man. Like my very first mentor in Los Angeles, pretty much my only mentor, was a director named Taj. And
Love
Taj
Taj.
is an amazing dude, and he really encouraged me to move out to LA when I was still living in the Bay Area. He's from the Bay Area, so he was somebody I really looked up to, and I learned so much from him. And the three main things he would always say is that you need to be a good director are vision, strength, and patience.
Goodness.
And so I got vision and strength tattooed on my arm,
Wow.
but I never got patience tattooed because I was like, I ain't got that yet. And I'm
Ah,
still learning it every day. It's like you have to put this patience cap on to really be able to like uh see the end goal for long form stuff,
yeah.
because it's just a long time. It's a lot more development. Talk about starting a small business every single time.
Yeah.
It goes from, you know, drastic budget level shifts.
Mhm.
And again, people want to see that you've done it before.
Yeah.
And so, how are you going to be able to showcase that? You have to start to put all those other pieces in place and use those building blocks.
Mhm,
It's really
mhm.
interesting.
Dude, yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself, man. And I love the tattoos. And what's so crazy about all that is like you are being patient to get the tattoo patience. That's so dope to me.
Dude, totally. I probably will never get that. Number one, I'm never going to tattoo again, but I probably
Okay.
will never get that tattoo, honestly.
That's the
Yeah.
coolest thing
Yeah,
about it
it's
in
like
my opinion.
now it's just hopefully I can tattoo it in my brain,
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
nice.
Also, shout out to Taj. You know what's so crazy, bro?
Yeah.
His episode drops next week.
Oh, that's
I
amazing,
I I did
man.
a thing with him because he's someone who inspired me from the beginning too,
Yeah, man.
and it's special, man. So I'm really happy you
That's
mentioned him,
cool.
and
Taj is such a great guy, and
he speaks highly of you. He loves you, bro.
he's definitely one of the guys. Like, I stayed on his couch when I first moved to LA.
That's dope.
I got my first edit gigs outside of my own work with Taj. And
That's
so I just
dope.
learned a lot from him. When you get to edit somebody else's footage,
Yeah.
you get to take the things that you love about their work, and you also get to see them make mistakes actively. And so it's like I was able to, and not saying that Taj would make any mistakes, but it's like interesting because you're like, oh, this is stuff that I want to be able to bring into, like, I like the way that they approach the just the formation of the way that they were shooting. I want to be able to bring in that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the biggest thing I learned from it is what was going on set and being able to see how charismatic he was and the way that he worked with people
Mm-hmm.
in such an amazing way, and he could just really connect with anyone.
Yeah.
And that is a huge thing, you know? I mean, there's probably a lot of directors out there that have a hard time connecting and they can just make their world work.
Mm-hmm.
But being able to see him connect with other people is truly an art form. And that was something I saw in myself. And I was like, I'm going to keep bringing this thing out. You know, I think this is a really important aspect to not only my craft, but also to life.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. He really showed, like, I've just been hanging around him a lot more too, and we're working on a little project together. And even just seeing him in action or just his thought process, it's very like he's very in tune with himself, with his
Yeah.
emotions, with his
Yeah.
thoughts,
Yeah.
and the way he can convey those emotions and convey those feelings. It's like, it's so beautiful. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, you're like, I'm learning so much from you.
Yeah.
I'm like a student again, you know?
Totally,
It's
man.
crazy.
Yeah.
Even at this,
He's a really cerebral individual.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
dude.
he's really, really cool dude.
I want to dive into the feature world, but before we talk about features, you mentioned about editing, right?
Yeah.
And you talked about editing for him. And was that essentially the beginning of, or like the earlier days of your career? Would you say you were editing a lot more than directing?
Yeah. So, when I first learned to direct, I was editing everything I did. And
Okay,
so,
got it.
I probably edited, it wasn't until I met my friend Vinny, who's one of my best friends and an incredible editor, that I was like, okay, I can remove this aspect from my life. And I want to say that wasn't until 2014 or something like that. So I like already edited about 100 of my videos.
100 videos.
Yeah.
So how many
And
years was that? Like,
that was probably for the first 6 or 7 years
oh,
of
wow.
directing.
Wow.
And that was a really intense scenario for me because I was like finding my voice as a director. I was editing for Taj, and then I'd go back home and I'd shoot a video for $500 for a Bay Area artist, and I'd drive back and I'd go edit for him, and I'd apply those skills. And it was just a really amazing thing. And then once I started to be able to not have to edit for anybody else, I loved the editing process so much. I'd be like, oh, I can't wait to go home and edit this, like as I'm shooting a shot.
Yeah.
But what's so incredible about it is, and I'm sure you've heard this before, but when you're on set, you can be so much more decisive because you're watching something cut in your head. And so
Yes.
being able to have those skills, and as you're shooting, you're like, oh, no, I got it. I can keep moving because I know that I like got the exact edit I need. And of course, things are going to change later, but just being able to have that skill set kind of engraved in your brain is amazing. And so then once I met, and by the way, like along the way, like I saw so many mistakes I was making, and I was able to, go and be that much better on set as a director. And so it's just like, I don't think when you have somebody else editing for you, you're not seeing all of those mistakes because they're not going to put them in the project, right? And then I met Vinny, and Vinny was, when I first met Vinny, he was working on a feature that one of my buddies had directed at the time, and I was just really impressed with his skill sets, storytelling. And he was like, hey, if you ever want me to, cut one of your music videos, I know you cut all your own things, but if you want to cut, I was like, okay, cool, that sounds good. Like, I still wasn't ready for it. But there was just a time period where I just started to become so busy. I was like, I need somebody else to help me on these cuts. And so he would come in and basically like, edit the second half of a video, and I'd be like, oh, wow, he just cut that better than I did. This is crazy. And so then he just took over for me, and that was pretty much the only editor I would work with for years.
Wow.
Until he got too busy. But
Wow.
that's the cycle of, our industry, and it's an amazing thing. You love to be able to see somebody's career blossom. And so then I would say, we're talking about the journey. And once you start to be able to then get from behind the computer, I couldn't be an introvert on my computer editing and then go on set and be an extrovert.
Yeah.
It was impossible. And it was so hard for me to like separate those things and like dive all the way into an edit and then the next day go on set and be like, hey guys, what's up? You ready to go shoot? It's really hard. Do you edit your own stuff?
I used to do everything
Okay.
for like 6-7 years too.
Okay, yeah, and you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Dude, it's so hard because
It's
you're like
really tough.
the night before you're like a hermit up till 3 a.m. and then you come out of there, you're just like
it's really tough, and I have so much admiration for director editors that can still keep up with that because it's really,
bro.
Definitely a skill set. But I gotta say, since I stopped editing, I've become a better director because I've learned how to articulate what I want to an editor.
Yeah.
So again, it's just like being a better communicator in all aspects of our job.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm going to tell you something though.
Yeah.
I feel like it's easier to find a good DP, a good producer, et cetera, et cetera. But with an editor, it is so hard to find a good editor. That's been like
they either got the juice or they don't. And like
I always say that.
Yeah. And I'll know off a first cut if it's even worth me giving notes or if I need to switch editors off top.
Straight up.
And that's just because you come from an editing background, and sometimes you just look at something and it's literally, they could be the best editor in the world, but they may have just not understood the assignment.
Yeah.
And maybe that was on me for not giving good enough direction before they dove into the edit. But I'm like, cool, I can't even like waste my time giving notes. I got to just switch up and re-articulate how I'm going to go into the next edit. And then it works out.
Taste usually is intuitive, right?
Yep.
Sometimes you can develop taste.
Yep.
But generally, like you said, you either got the juice or you don't. And that's very true with editing, bro.
It's very true. But it's also, it's like, what's your favorite cereal? Everybody's got a different cereal
That's
flavor,
true too.
right? So they may not even be into the music that you're giving them. And it's the wrong assignment from the jump, and it was a misjudge. So it's like, I feel like I never want to judge somebody based on that situation. It's more so, what is this was a bad call on my end.
Yeah.
You know, like I know I have to switch it up because this was a bad call on my end. And it happens with all of your keys though, because there's been plenty of times where I've hired the wrong DP for the job.
Yeah, yeah.
And I kick myself because I'm like, that was my fault on that.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I'm gonna learn how to interview better for that position so that I don't make that mistake again.
That's
having that accountability, it's important.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It's so, you literally said it. You said it so well. Here's the thing about the industry, right? Like, we want to stay loyal to our people. Yeah. We want to work with the same group of people, but it's also good to like switch it up, right? Like you said, you try different DPs. Sometimes it worked out, sometimes it didn't.
Yeah.
Like, at what point do you decide, like, how do you know who's the right fit for each project? Because I know for you, especially when I look back at your work, you have a lot of the same like DPs on a lot of your projects. Yeah. But at what point are you like, this might not be the right person for this?
I think it's more curiosity. I don't think it's more so, especially these days, like every single job I'm working with different cinematographers, and then sometimes I'll be able to, go work with somebody that I have a really great unspoken language with.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better than that, truly. Like, Elias Talbot and Rob Witt, those are two DPs that I've worked with consistently over the last 10 years. But like, they've both blossomed into the biggest cinematographers ever too. So they're not always available for my stuff. But simultaneously, it's also the curiosity and wanting to grow myself. And so, every time I work with somebody new, whether it be a cinematographer or a producer or an editor, I'm learning something new from those people. And it's super, super important to be able to keep growing.
Yeah.
It's like I appreciate my unspoken languages, but it's also important that I'm also using my words in order to articulate, and then also seeing other techniques people are using. Because then when I get back on set with Elias after he's gone and shot, 20 commercials and other stuff, and I've shot these things, we can combine and be that much stronger. And so it's like, you realize it's like that kind of relationship is so important. And it's like, I get to work with Elias on Friday on a commercial we're doing. And like, we've been tech scouting and doing our meetings for the project. And it's like, we have all of these incredible experiences that we get to, all of a sudden come together with, and I'm being like, oh, I tried this on this and I tried this, and okay, and all of a sudden it's like, cool,
It's
like
leveled up.
it's leveling up,
Yeah.
and that's what you should be doing.
Yeah.
And so when I talk about like being stagnant, it's in every single aspect, and you have to keep pushing yourself out of your comfort zones.
Yeah.
Comfortability is your worst enemy.
Oh my God, that's the 4 years, bro. 4 years.
It's the 4
Don't get
years,
comfortable.
next tattoo, man, 4 years. But it's true. It's really true. And just to one more tangent is like, also I'm constantly thinking about, what is going to be the best recipe for when I do go get on one of these films that I'm developing. And so I'm using every single job that I do right now to test out different positions and to see different people in those lights, and thinking about what this situation would be. And so then I change my preparation process with those people because I want to know what it's going to be like. And I'll do little tests on set, like, and kind of like, I don't know if you've seen the rehearsal yet, Nathan Fielder shit.
I haven't seen it.
But it's like kind of creating different scenarios where like it's kind of unneeded, but I'm like, I want to see what'll happen here and how they handle this situation, because I want to make sure that when I get into this thing on set, I'm prepared for that.
I see. Wow, you're like guinea pigging it almost, kind
It's
of.
important. It's important. It's important.
That's so cool.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of what we do. We are in such a creative platform. Like, our world is our oyster. And so you really have the ability to be able to do that. It's really interesting because we were talking about this earlier, and when I first saw one of the clips from your podcast, you were talking about the effects of dopamine and Instagram, and like the world that we kind of grew up in our entertainment industry, and how important that was as a platform for us to continue to get work. And it was essentially like a live, living, breathing website.
Yeah, well said.
And it's really interesting to like have already been in the industry and then see this tool come while you're in the middle of the industry, and then basically get obsessed with this tool for the outcome of our pieces, right?
Yeah.
And so I also think that like a big part of like the game, right? It's like you go and shoot, and then you're excited to post it online because you're like, I'm excited to show this to people.
Yeah.
But are you really excited to show this to people? Or are you excited to get that immediate like gratification back of being like, oh, people like my shit, cool, or I don't even know what that is, right? So it's really interesting because right after I closed Boy in the Castle in 2023, simultaneously I also like deleted Instagram for like a year and a half, almost 2 years. And it was really wild because I knew that I needed to do that because I wasn't going to be working. And I knew it was going to like hurt like too much to like be on Instagram and like not be able to like get those shots of adrenaline that I get from like releasing something, and like also feeling other feelings of being like, oh man, I should probably go do something because like I see they're doing something, right?
Yeah,
it's like one of those
yourself.
things. Yeah, and the constant, comparison. And it was so fascinating because during that time, I had so many, pretty cool discussions, with friends and family and all of that stuff. And it really made me rethink why I was even working when I was working, and like what my motivation for shooting a project was even in the first place, right? And so like I'm pretty sure towards the end of like when I was shooting videos at that time, that era, that 4 years, I was doing it purely for like the dopamine effect of like, I can't wait to put this out. I can't wait to and just being in the game, right? Just being in the game and doing something every week and being busy. Being busy is good in Hollywood, right? Like that's what it is. That's the kind of like. And so then I was like, man, this is so interesting. Like, I don't even know if during the end there, I was like even having fun, or like why I was doing this. There wasn't clarity as like why I was doing any of those things. And so simultaneously, I'm prepping this long form project, and I started to have those realizations of like, okay, well, if I go back and start to do commercials and music videos, because I'd like to keep my skill sets up. And I'd like to have that collaboration that I'm missing right now, because I hadn't gone on set and collaborated with people in quite a while.
Because you're just focusing on the
Because I'm
future?
completely focused. I said, I'm gonna quit everything and be 10 toes down, 2 feet in
Yeah.
to really try to make this vision happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna hurt, but I gotta do it.
Yeah.
And but after about a year and a half, I'm like, okay, I gotta go out and like shoot some shit, because I know I need this for me, for the collaboration spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like doing it, and I was like, man, this is so interesting, because I'm being so much more cautious about why I'm picking a project, because I either want to go experiment with tools, because I want to go like, practice different things that I'm trying to accomplish from, the film that I'm working on. And most importantly, because I love the collaboration spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I'm like busy again doing commercials and music videos, and I started up my Instagram again, but I'm only doing it to post some and then I'll delete it again, because I don't want to be sitting there scrolling, because I noticed how even after a year and a half of having this
Realization.
thank you, having this realization that this thing is so addictive,
Dude.
that literally you like, even when I reinstall it and post something and I'll have it up for a couple days to like interact and stuff, I'll be like, holy shit, man, like I'm on this thing like crazy. I'm all of a sudden I'm scrolling again. I'm like all interested. I'm like, this is so crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm thankful to have had that period of being able to at least understand.
Mm-hmm.
And so even, anyways, it's just, I think it's pretty interesting. I'm curious kind of what your relationship is like with social media now that you're starting a podcast now, and you have to be active on social media in order to market it. But are you noticing some of those same similarities that I'm talking about?
It's fucked up.
It is.
It's really tough. It's so ironic. I made an episode on dopamine, and then I was like checking to see how it performed,
of course,
on social media.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this episode is the antithesis of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And it's really hard for me, because it's different now, because I'll explain why.
Yeah.
Coming from a directing background, before I even started the podcast, I had an issue with comparing myself.
Yeah.
Big problem with that.
Yeah.
I would see other directors busy doing these jobs, working with a lot of my clients, or doing things that I wanted to do. And so I would be so hard on myself.
Yeah, of course.
And you know how it is, right?
It's everybody though.
I guess
That's everybody, but it just adds up in your head, right?
Yeah,
to where
it
it feels
does.
like you against the world. Yeah.
Comparison is a thief of joy, And anyways, I said for the podcast, it's me against me, right? This is not anything like, I'm not here to prove anything to anyone.
Yeah.
I just want to make this show for myself. So my motto and my constant motto for the show is like, I'm just going to put out things that I'm interested in. I'm going to talk about things that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
And so, the only thing that I guess social media is allowing me to do right now is to see what people are gravitating towards, and what might not register. Like, if I do an episode that's really, really in-depth about a certain aspect of filmmaking or a certain personal issue, like I did an episode on like anxiety, right?
Yeah.
And that one didn't do as well as the dopamine one, for example. So I'm like, it's interesting just to analyze what people are into. What do people want to hear right now?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. So it's a big experiment, and you have to be able to be active in order to like make that happen.
Totally, bro.
But it's almost like you have to set parameters on it, to where like you're super aware of like when you're actually going to go like look at that experiment, and like when all of a sudden it turns into something else.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and so now I'm like dancing between doing like, do I want to do things for the algorithm, or do I want to do things for myself? And I'm trying to do things for myself, but it's really nice getting a video that pops off, because I'm like, oh, like people are listening to me, and they're enjoying it.
Yeah, and
like,
it's something that you set out to do. But I guess the question is like, when you're thinking about the ones that work, like for you individually, for you as an individual, like are those the ones that you feel like you're the most passionate about when you're actually even talking about them?
Yeah. 50-50 so far.
Because like I think that like if you were like focused on like an algorithm as far as like, ooh, what if I do anxiety here, but you're not like passionate about the anxiety aspect?
Yeah.
I wonder if that like translates.
I think it does.
Yeah.
I think it does for sure. Yeah, I mean, like the dopamine one, it's one of my solo episodes. That one is something I was super passionate about, and that one did perform a lot better than the other ones. So yeah, I would say there is so far there's correlation between things that I'm passionate about and their
Of
performance,
course.
you know?
Well, because you're passionate about filmmaking, and when you get to interview other filmmakers that you're into their work or you're just curious, no matter what, that enthusiasm is going to come across, and it's going to be that much
Totally.
more of a passionate episode. But I think that's like the constant thing that nobody is ever going to crack this on the internet, right? It's
Mhm.
like whether you're trying to release a brand or whether you're releasing music or whatever it is, it's like oftentimes in a lot of these meetings, you'll hear so much like, whoa, what's going to be the thing that's going to go viral?
Oh my god, that's all they talk
when
about,
making
bro.
a decision, but that's what everybody talks about because that's what equals success,
I know, I
right?
know, I
And
know,
so it's
I know.
really interesting, but I think that and no one knows, right? It's all like a what if. Like I think that this is going to be the thing that's going to be the hottest,
Right,
right?
I think.
But really it's
Yeah.
like at the end of the day I think authenticity speaks volumes. And that's usually the thing that like translates the most. When
It
a new
does.
artist pops off and you never heard of them before, but somehow there's something in their sonic that like really just connects with your eardrums, it's usually authenticity. It's
Mhm.
usually something that's just super real and super organic where you're like, wow, I've got to like listen to this more, and you know when something is kind of manufactured for hits, like you can feel that.
You can feel it, yeah.
And it's a lot easier said than done, but it's just like a really interesting thing. And we're all constantly experimenting on what that is.
Yeah, yeah, dude. I totally hear you on that. It's tough out there, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's tough, but yeah, authenticity I think is what I'm trying to lean towards with the show, and
Yeah,
I hope that people can see it, and no fake shit, man. Just gonna try to do things that excite me, and hopefully it helps other people. And I
of
hope,
course.
and I'm glad you even listened to the dopamine episode. That was so dope that you even know about that
It was
episode.
dopamine.
Do
Yeah, no, but I agree. Like I honestly like I heard it and there was so much that resonated. And I mean, dude, it's the best thing ever when you can like think about when you can hear something and it makes you think about your own life and the decisions that you're making on a daily basis.
Mhm.
Like my wife said something the other day that she heard on a podcast about how important it is to continue to every day to challenge yourself mentally and physically.
Mhm.
And what that does is it makes it easier for you to challenge yourself the following day. So
Wow.
essentially, like if you're going to the gym and you get a good workout,
Mhm.
it's going to translate and build your muscles up to be able to go and like your mind is going to be like, oh, cool, this is working well for me. If I go and do this podcast with you, this is challenging for me in a sense that like it's new, it's something different. I don't talk a lot, you
Mhm.
know? I know that this is challenging myself to function at a higher level the next day. And so you're constantly building up those things.
Mm.
But when she said that to me, it was like just a morning conversation when we were walking our dog with coffee. And it really affected the way that I was maneuvering and making decisions over the next couple days.
Mm.
And I think that's the power of podcasts. It's the power of being able to talk about your thoughts and talk about what's important to you, because you could be affecting somebody else in such a deep level and you
Yeah.
just don't even know it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I currently don't have, like, film management, and I think a lot of filmmakers may not know this. This might be something you could help clarify. What's really the difference between an agent like UTA or WME or
Yeah.
whatever versus, like, a film management company, you know?
Yeah. So the difference is interesting. I mean, film management, my manager's name is Samantha, and we've known each other for a long time. And she's just kind of always believed in me, even though like I had no films under my belt.
Yeah.
But she saw the passion and all the steps that I was taking in order to like get it going
Yeah.
and how eager I was to be able to get in the room with people and do 1,000,002 generals. Generals like are, you know, it's really interesting because you never know what you're going to find from one of those meetings of telling people what you're into and what you're not into and just trying to find synchronicity, and it's literally like probably 1 in 30 generals actually turn into something significant. But what you learn about yourself as a filmmaker through that process by hearing about other projects that inspire you and learning how to articulate what you want to do is so beneficial. And
Mhm.
it's a hustle, it's the same thing. And that's why it's like I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't take the time off.
Yeah, yeah,
Where
yeah,
it's like I
totally.
devote my life to meetings now and like get stoked on a meeting. Like I used to like be in cafes and hear people talking about like, oh, I had this meeting with this guy, like da 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 da. I'd be like, man, whatever, bro. Like you had a meeting, who cares? But really, it's like those are so important because it's like it goes to say, your network is your net worth, and
Mhm.
like you want to be able to build with great people. And it's been really interesting because I've met so many cool screenplay writers along the way, and you see the motivation behind some people versus not motivated. And sometimes you'll be working on a project, and all of a sudden you don't talk to somebody for 6 months, and you're like, cool, like I guess they weren't like super motivated by the project, like
Mm.
so it's quite interesting.
Yeah, yeah. When you say generals, were they general meetings with different film management companies or generals with writers? Like, what were these generals?
Generals with writers, generals with producers, generals with film companies that are producing stuff, generals with studios, all of that.
Got it.
And just trying to get your name into the system and
Yeah.
like, talk to people about stuff. And,
Mhm.
um, it's like talk about being a little fish in a big ass sea. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
huge.
And then it's really interesting because like also along the way, I've really become even more of a movie fan and a movie head and a movie critic. Whereas like I wasn't really watching a lot of movies when I was directing music videos. Like I was so focused on like what was in front of me and not really what was ahead of me.
Mhm.
And so now it's really nice to be able to like just continue to like learn how to dissect a film and
Mhm.
what you like and what you don't like in a film, and like be the annoying critic that is like all over the internet, but like for yourself.
Mhm.
And you just learn a lot about yourself from those experiences, and that's been really beneficial for me as well, I think.
That's good. You're really studying the game, man.
Dude, it's going to school, but in your own like, weird way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You've answered so many amazing, important things about film, like
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
And we touched a little bit on videos. One thing that we were talking about a little bit was commercials, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned that for a lot of music video people, even though you've done 200 plus videos,
Yeah.
it's still hard to get your foot in the door into
Yeah.
commercials, right?
Yeah.
And even for myself, dude, like I'm out here pitching to agencies and creative directors and agency producers and then brands.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we love your idea or we love your work, but you don't have any like a lot of commercials.
Yeah.
How are you how can we trust you to do this tequila commercial if all we see are these videos?
Yeah.
How do we trust you to do this commercial for these cookies or whatever, And it's tough. And so my question for you is, like, what would you say was the most important factor into getting your first commercials when you only had music videos on your reel?
Yeah, luck. No,
Really?
no, no, no. I think that it's the same way that, we were approaching music videos at the beginning, trying to get music videos, and it's like building from something. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? And like having to go out and prove yourself and, do something for the love and try and make it look the best that it can. And I know some people that like shoot really good specs and are able to get commercials off that.
Hmm.
I think that there's something really valuable in doing that because you're showing that you can do it. It's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then simultaneously like just continuing to like hit the pavement and like knocking on doors because, you know, if you're silent, it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, you have to go.
And it's like you have to really go like barge down doors and hit up different companies and see if they'll be willing to, pitch for you and stuff like that. I think that's super, super important. And just like, again, like manifesting it, like honestly, like when I started to like hit my stride with commercials, I was like, I'm going to go do this and I'm going to put all the energy on this possible. And
Mm.
like, I really believe in the power of like your mind and taking you somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think it's important to manifest. It's important to find the right people around you. And I'm curious, like, well, two things I'm curious about. First off, did you ever shoot any specs or
I didn't shoot any specs.
you never shot specs?
No.
So and then the second thing you said was, you were not talking to companies
Yeah.
who had relationships with
Yeah.
brands and agencies.
Yeah. And the most importantly, I was saying yes. Like, man, I shot commercials that like I would never admit that I've shot.
Oh, really?
But like I shot commercials at the beginning because I was like, cool, I need to go get that experience. Like, you want me to shoot a Hooters commercial? Sure. I'll go do a Hooters commercial.
Interesting.
And it's like you go get that experience and it's not a glamorous thing.
Yeah.
But it's not something that has to stay on your reel, but at least you get the experience and you can show people that you've done that and had worked with the agencies and stuff.
Right.
And so like, I have a lot of commercials that I did like that at the very beginning in order to like just do them. I was like, yes, sure. Yes, I want the experience.
I see.
And, that's kind of the beauty of also what we do is like, unless you promote it, no one has to know that you did it. you know?
Right.
You can go, shoot a bunch of Home Depot commercials and make them look great and work with agencies and get that experience, and that way people see that you've done it, you know?
So
Not saying that Home Depot is like a bad brand or Hooters is a bad brand.
right.
There is no bad brand.
Yeah.
It's but it's, there's certain brands that are more glamorous to shoot, right?
Sexy
Yeah,
brands.
sexy
Yeah.
brands,
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, also having the right project that's gaining attention. Like, after I did all right, I remember I got a call from my super close friend Gary, from France, and he was like, "Hey, I saw your Kendrick thing. Do you want to do an East Saint Laurent campaign?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Like, cool. Let's do it." And then, we met and we went and did that and we became super close friends. And then I was all of a sudden working heavily in the French market and with luxury brands. But it was because they saw I did something cool here. And so, like, I do think that there is something to be said of, like, yeah, continue to also just push your art in whatever space you're in, because somebody's going to be paying attention and say, "Man, that was actually really cool. I think that would translate into this brand or mindset or whatever it is." So I think it's a mixture of both of those things and being able to manifest it. Because at that time I was like, I really want to do commercials, but also at that same time I was thinking I really want to be making films. And so I was like putting that into my work. I put it into All Right. I went and did Mr. Happy with Chance the Rapper. I funded that myself.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I was like, I really wanted, that was like kind of when I was like, man, I need to stop doing set videos. Like, let me go start doing some stuff that has more of a feeling and narrative driven and is playing with some of these techniques. And so I had just done something with featuring Chance. I think it was a Justin video.
Oh,
And
Confident?
yeah, Confident.
Fire video.
Yeah, and
I
we were
love that
talking
video.
a bunch about, film, and just had a lot of like, um, we just were really in sync. And I was like, hey, I'm just finished this short script with some friends. Like, can I send it to you? Would you be interested? And he was like, yo, I can do this next week, but we
Wow.
got to do it next week because then I go on tour. And so, like, funded it myself, got a couple of friends to kick in a couple thousand, and we went and shot for 7 days, and no prep, no rehearsals, didn't know what we were doing, but it was such a great way to experience narrative chops and feeling and being able to convey that. Our first cut was like 60 minutes and we cut it down to 30 in order for it to like actually work,
Wow.
But again, just from having that like personalized experience of being able to make that happen was so important.
Yeah.
And that was also saying, cool, I'm going to invest my own money into doing this. Like, it could completely fail and I'll lose this money, whatever it is. I gave it to Vice,
You
for
gave
free.
the film device for free?
Yeah, but it was at the time where like there wasn't a like room for a short film on like Netflix or like Black Mirror or anything like that. Like,
Yeah.
there people were like, I mean, we'll put it on Vice if you want. We're not going to pay for it. I was like, let's do it.
How'd you even pitch it to Vice? How'd you even
I forget. Like, somehow I was in the Vice room and they let me come do a screening for them and made it happen.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love how you just had the grit and hustle and you're like, I'm going to just fund this myself. I'm
Yeah.
going to just create for myself. I think that's actually a really good theme that I want to touch on is the importance of creating for yourself.
Yes.
It's so important to create for
It is.
yourself.
It's very
And-
important.
And when I was studying your videos, I noticed like you'd have these crazy runs with artists
Yeah.
where you'd like do almost like back to back to back to back to back to back videos.
Yeah.
Like during those crazy moments, did you even have time to create for yourself?
Within the space of working with those artists, yes.
I
Because
see.
a lot of times that relationship was like, with really close friends, and so like, whether it was like the run with Justin or the run with J Balvin, there was such a great collaboration and just communication to where like I could be pitching all the ideas that I was really interested in doing,
Mhm.
and people would be on board and be like, yeah, that makes sense. And of course you're going to cater it to like whatever their music is and whatever they're trying to convey from a branding standpoint,
Mhm.
but it's really diving deep into all of those things together.
Mhm.
But I will say, like, creating for myself as an individual, no. And creativity is like the biggest currency that you have.
Mhm.
And as you know, doing your podcast, creativity can translate into anything. you can walk into any room and be able to like talk the language of somebody else doing something creative because that is now forever in your brain. And
Mm-hmm.
like that is that's your dollar, you
Yeah.
know? And so it's like even now, like all of the other creative like things that I do, whether it's photography or working on stuff with my wife, she's a choreographer, or making music with different artists, from more of like I'm shaping this world standpoint. I'm not sitting there on the keyboard making beats. I'm not singing the songs, but I'm working with artists and putting things together. Like that is the best creative outlet that you can have because you're like, cool, like this translates just the way that I would translate it on a film set, you know?
Right.
And so it's really, really interesting. Whatever you want to do creatively for yourself, it's such a good release.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for us creatives, if you're not doing that, you go crazy. And that's what puts you into, depression or creates anxiety or whatever it is. But there's so many other ways to be creative every single day.
Yeah.
And challenging yourself and working those muscles is key.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's awesome that you had artists and clients who are willing to really collaborate with you.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's not always the case, you know?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, of
but
course.
the fact that you had that, I think is
It's trust,
awesome. And
though. It's trust and it's relationships and it's being able to build that up over the years. You know?
yeah. Yeah. Some of my favorite videos of yours, I would assume stemmed from, your trust and relationships from
Yeah.
from the artists. Like you mentioned Justin.
Yeah.
I love the Ghost video you did.
Thanks.
I love Confident,
Yeah,
great
yeah,
video.
yeah.
Like where did a relationship like that stem from? Like how did you even start working with Justin Bieber?
Oh, with Justin? I mean, dude, that was that was so long ago because I want to say he was like, it was one of his first songs ever. We shot in the Bahamas at the Atlantis Resort. And he was super young, like still a little kid. And the whole uh the whole assignment for the video from my perspective was like, don't make this look like a resort. You know what I mean? I was like, how can I actually make this look cinematic? We're at a resort, but we
Yeah.
had to shoot there. It was like he was doing a show or a tour there or something like that. But it
Yeah.
was still the early stages of like Justin Bieber before it was Justin Bieber. And then I think that trust was just there for the rest of our working experiences. We've done I want to say at least a dozen videos together over the last 16 years.
Insane, dude.
Which has been probably more than that actually. And I really value that relationship because we can actually have cool conversations about ideas, and I don't have to feel like I'm throwing spaghetti on the wall that even if it slides off, he's going to be like, you're done, you're fired. It's it's a good collaboration where you can actually feel comfortable throwing ideas against the wall and really build something together. And that's ultimately what you want to do, right? Like that's the best scenario. Writing a treatment just in the dark, not knowing an artist, hoping that they're going to like your idea that you think is genius is really tough.
Hard.
And I think oftentimes when you can actually create a dialogue beforehand, you're going to kind of hit the target a lot easier as far as landing whatever idea that there is there.
Yeah. With Justin in particular, is he sending you a foundation to build off of? Do you give him ideas? Like what's the collaborative process with him?
It changes every time. I think that especially for the last Justice album that we did, I pretty much did every single off there, and it was just being able to link up, listen to the music, talk about where he was at in his life, the types of stories that we wanted to tell, and also the music was really it was emoting a lot of emotion, and so it was perfect for going short films every time with all of those. And that was my headspace too, is just trying to tell cool short stories with him, and that's kind of what we set out to do, and it was so gratifying.
It was.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. That's amazing. You also have relationships. Well, actually, back on the note, it's tough being in the music video industry because a lot of times you'll have 20 directors writing for a song.
Yeah.
And it's not even going from the artist, it's going from the label or management and they're almost collecting treatments to collect treatments. They may not even look at your treatment, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned that it's important to know the artist, start that dialogue with
Yeah.
them, but not everybody gets the luxury of doing that.
Yeah.
So again, going back to the example of Justin, like how were you even able to start that dialogue in the first place? You know, like how did that relationship, where did it stem from? Did you meet through a label to do that Bahamas job and then you connected on set and then you built,
Yeah.
you know, like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it is really hard, and I could imagine like being a newer director in like the state of music videos right now would be probably really hard, because it's like, again, you're like a little fish in a big sea, and there's so much competition for every job, and there's not as much music video shooting right now.
Oh yeah.
And so yeah, I do feel like, but you know, even just the relationships with commissioners and labels and your reps, it's being able to have that transparency of like kind of knowing actually what you're writing against, and, you know, if that investment is worth it of time and emotion and money and
Yeah.
all of the things that kind of go into it. Um, so I think personally, it's relationships outside of set has always been like my number one biggest thing, is to like create those repeat clients so that I don't have to do that part of the competition.
Mm.
Because I wanted to be able to alleviate that.
Yeah.
And it was only coming from an authentic standpoint because I create better when I feel comfortable with somebody. They're going to create better when they feel comfortable with me. And so like, again, like I started doing music videos with my best friends, the Cataracts,
Yeah.
you know, the Pack, who were my really close friends at the time. Like those were all people like who we could go out and fail together and then go shoot the next day and figure it out. And like I just kind of always kept that playground spirit on set, and I think that like has always been able to translate no matter who the artist is, no matter how, there's been difficult artists along the way, but you still are able to create like a long lasting working relationship with them based on making it a fun experience, you know? And so I don't really know what the answer is for like going out and pitching and getting lost in the sauce, because it's like doesn't really, I mean, the idea matters, but like it doesn't also at the same time.
Right.
You know, like I used to hear stories of like Hype Williams like faxing in his treatment to a label that just said it's going to be dope. And like literally like they, you know, shove out a couple $1 million and they find him on set and he's got that relationship with the artist and turns out dope.
Wait, the treatment just said it's gonna be dope?
Yeah.
Let's-
And by the way, like I have no clue if that is true or not. You know, it's like the lore of, you know, certain directors that have been around for a long
Oh,
time.
that's cool. Yeah.
But like I've been on set before with artists where they're like, I didn't even read the treatment. I just knew that we were gonna create something sick.
That's cool.
So like, let's go.
That's cool.
And so, you know, I think if you are able to like set that precedent from the beginning, as far as the type of working atmosphere that you're creating, and your work stays at a level of consistency, and like we were talking about earlier, like also switching it up and challenging yourself creatively, like people can expect that there will be something different.
Yeah. Well, who was your first relationship that really broke you into the industry?
Oh, Chris Brown.
Chris Brown.
Yeah, Chris Brown. Yeah, because essentially, well, it was first Tyga, and Tyga and I were doing like, you know, just really small videos around LA and shit like that. And, you know, you've worked with Tyga a bunch. He's a great dude.
Yeah.
And
super
when it
cool.
came to Deuces, he just hit me up and was like, hey, like, you want to do this with Chris? We got to do it next week. You know, it was like super low budget. We did that video for $2,500. Deuces.
That's it?
Yeah. Black and white, Rob Wade on the camera, like literally I cut it that night, like, and we just, you know, we're using pure, you know, at that time it was a super different style of cinematography. Like Rob did this beautiful high contrast, black and white. We were playing with a lot of shadows and darkness, you know, in the light, and slow motion and speed ramps with the edit. And it was just like it felt like it was something new. And
classic. Oh.
Yeah, and that was the video that kind of like broke me, because then from there I went on to do like 30 plus videos with Chris, whether they were features or his own singles.
Yeah, I've seen them all,
And
dude.
that was super cool because it was somebody that he trusted, and he was like, you know, even if he was doing a feature at the time, he was like, no, Colin's got to do this. And so like it was the invaluable relationship that I had. And you know, then you're like, cool, like Chris and I have done our run. This is great. But I've got to go shape myself and do something new,
Yeah,
because you don't ever want to get stuck stagnant. And
right,
that was from both of our sides. It was like,
right.
you know, um, he had the foresight to direct and do things on his own, and he
Yeah,
became a really great director as well.
yeah,
Um, and for me, I was like, yeah, gotta go keep growing, because you can't depend on one, you know, client to to make this happen.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Sorry, were you gonna say
no, that's it.
I'm so fascinated because you were talking about like the cataracts and all the dudes in the
Yeah.
Bay. Was it Tyga who saw your work from the Bay artists, and that's when you introduced
Yeah,
his,
so
or?
he had seen a video that I did for Lil B the Bass God called "We Can Go Down"
Oh yeah,
that I
okay,
shot in the
okay,
Bay
okay.
Area
I remember that.
with B. And B was always a really, really close friend of mine as well. And like he would just like come out to LA and stay with me, and we'd like make a bunch of videos and like do some cool like experimenting style shorts and just like cool stuff, because that's who he was. Like, you know, he's a pretty
Yeah,
psychedelic dude.
yeah, he's awesome.
And Tyga had seen it was at the time that, like, funny enough, World Star was just like coming out, and
Oh
because it was
yeah.
the top video on World Star, which sounds so fucking OG, but like literally Tyga had seen that, it caught his eye, and he was like, then that's when I got a call from him,
Bro,
and he was like, we got to work, let's do it.
relationships are everything, bro.
Everything.
From Lil B, from even
Yeah.
before Lil B,
Yeah.
the Bay, all the artists in the Bay.
Even just my friends who were letting me do their videos. That was just pure
It's
loyalty and trust too. I hadn't done anything before,
right.
but I was enthusiastic, and I
Yes.
wanted to collaborate, and I wanted to try and make something work.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, David, who is one of the other members, and Niles, who are both the Cataracts. Niles is like one of the biggest DJs ever. His stage name is called Kashmir. He's a
Mm.
huge Indian DJ, like
Mhm.
KSHMR.
Cool.
And then David is Terror Jr., which is a
Mm.
really amazing group. And both still my best friends to this day. And we just still talk about, even back in the day when we were going out and making music videos, it was like, again, like out the back of one of their mom's vans or my mom's truck or something like that, you know, stomping through graveyards, trying to get a shot set up in the middle of the night, not knowing what the hell we were doing, but we were just out being creative, and like no rules, no handcuffs,
Mhm.
nothing.
Mhm.
Money didn't exist. I didn't even know the career of being a director was possible. You
Right.
know,
Right.
you're just going and creating. You're like, I'm part of making this song, the song a slap. Like, it's
Right,
amazing. You
right,
know, like
right,
that
right.
was it.
Right, right. Dude, it's so crazy you're saying that because I literally thought that directing could be a career because of you, I think. I'm pretty sure. It was
That's
like,
so dope,
it's
man.
insane. I saw your videos, I saw Taj's videos. I was telling him this. And like you guys were both like, I was like, damn, they're doing videos like this. They're killing it.
That's
That's a
cool.
career. And I
Yeah,
told my parents that. I was like, I'm pretty sure I showed my parents like some of your videos. I was like, I want to do this, you know? Like it's
sick,
crazy, dude.
sick. I love that,
You
dude.
know? But
Man, that means a lot. That's like so dope that I could have been an influence you to start such a great
hell
career,
yeah.
man.
Hell yeah, dude. I
Yeah,
appreciate you, man.
yeah.
I'm fascinated by the web of relationships, and even for me, like even Tyga, when I was working with him, I caught like the second wave. I caught the taste wave,
Cool.
when he
Yeah.
had his second
Yeah,
pop
yeah,
off.
yeah, of course.
But for you, it's like it's so cool to see the web of relationships from Lil B to Tyga to Chris, which then blossomed to everybody else. And it's a testament, dude. Relationships are everything.
And I don't think I actually was picking up on that at the time. I just had a certain way that I knew was working, because, like, you know, at the beginning, I was definitely like faking it to make it. I still didn't know what I was doing directing. Like, all of a sudden, I'm getting these massive budgets for videos that I would have never dreamed of, but I
Mm,
was like faking it to make it, hiring
mm,
good people around me, but nothing changed from an attitude standpoint and an
yeah.
approach standpoint. And like, so every single one of those features that Chris was like, yo, Colin's got to shoot this. Like, I'd look at Lil Wayne or I'd look at Busta Rhymes or whoever I was doing the feature with and be like, how can I make this the coolest experience for this person? And then naturally that call would happen. There was nothing inauthentic with saying, I want to be able to connect the dots here. It was being like, I want to make this experience so dope for him. And it wasn't until later I was like, oh man, this is super cool. Like, this is complete relationship building.
Yeah.
Subconsciously.
Yeah. That's awesome. There's two projects I want to touch on real quick that I think have some sort of relevance to your roots. One of them that you talked about is the All Right video.
Yeah.
Part of that was shot in the Bay or all of it?
Shot half of it in the Bay Area.
Shot half in the Bay Area.
LA, yeah.
And how did that even, that video is one of the greatest music videos of all time. Hands down, bro.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
And how did that even happen? Because Kendrick is like there's so much gatekeeping around Kendrick.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, he's a special dude and he's got a great team.
Where'd that come from, bro? And how was that experience?
Oh man, the experience working with Kendrick was amazing. The way I put it, I was like, I've never showed up to set and had the artist be there before me.
Wow.
And like in the Bay Area, when we pulled up to Angel Island, like he was just out there sitting on the curb waiting for all the trucks to come in.
What?
But that's how excited he was about the process of making a music video. And I'm pretty sure a lot of that was instilled from, you know, the process of working with Dave Free all those years as well. And yeah, man, he just like totally got it and like was just one of those people that wanted to be there every second of the shoot.
Really?
And I really, really loved that. And then as far as the process, I mean, I remember working on that treatment and going over and meeting with Kendrick and Dave like 3 or 4 times and having them continue to challenge and like not wanting to settle on the smallest details. And then I'd go back and keep writing and then I'd come back. And I remember being like, whoa, man, like I've never had anybody challenge me like this. This is great. This is what you want from creative partners that will, you know, really, you know, bring the best out of you as a creative. And that's really how that whole process went, man. And you could see it and you could feel it in the storytelling and the filmmaking style and just the emotion that that piece conveyed. And that really changed a lot of my mindset during that time where I saw the impact that it had from an emotional standpoint and from a storytelling and just being very relevant in what was happening in the world and being like, dude, storytelling is, as a filmmaker, is the most valuable, you know, thing that we've got. Why waste this?
Right.
You know, why waste this? You know, of course, like it's super fun going and doing a, you know, super glossy pop video, but like, what better if you can like make people feel and think and talk, you know, about because of this piece of work.
Yeah. Yeah. And how involved was Kendrick in terms of the actual, you said they challenge you a lot, right?
Yeah.
Did they give you a prompt to work with? Because it's such a poetic piece.
Yeah.
And he talks about a lot of things.
Yeah.
So did he kind of tell you like, we want it to be?
It was definitely like a great back and forth. I remember I started with something and then, like, to be honest, it was 10 years ago now.
Dude, it's almost a 10-year anniversary. It's literally
the
like next month,
anniversary, which is crazy, man. But it was definitely like, it was the first time that I had ever worked with an artist where we were like kind of battling it out through the treatment process in a really good way, like very healthy way.
Wow.
Of just challenging scenes, challenging ideas. And of course, you know, Kendrick's lyric is the narrator of this entire piece. And so I wanted to make sure I was doing that thing justice. I had always wanted to do a Kendrick video, and I was like, no matter what, when I get that call, I'm going to do it black and white because I just know that that's like the world, the aesthetic I want to see him in. And so they were like super on board for that, which was really dope.
Dude, that's iconic, man.
Yeah.
That's iconic. There's another project you did in the Bay. It's a commercial you did with Steph Curry. Was it shot in the Bay? The Steph Curry one?
Yeah, that was shot in the Bay Area as well.
That's awesome. And how did that feel, bro? I just love like talking about your roots. I feel like these are special projects, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing better than being able to like shoot in your hometown, but also shoot with like Steph Curry's my like idol, dude. Like I'm a huge Golden State Warriors fan.
I bet.
And yeah, it's my team.
Yeah,
you know, like diehard fan.
Represent.
Like don't miss a lot of games.
Really?
Yeah, like, I love basketball because I just really enjoy analyzing team dynamics and all the psychology on the court and seeing the changes and the schemes that they're putting together. Like, I really enjoy that part of um, sports and fandom. Like, and I never did when I was growing
Mm.
up. I was never into it, but it wasn't until like the last 3 or 4 years that I got really into it.
Damn tough year, bro.
Yeah, tough couple years,
Yeah,
but more importantly, being able to follow a team and follow players that you really admire and being able to pay attention, the access that we have to being able to listen to podcasts and stuff like that, you learn a lot. Um, and so, of course, getting to work with Steph was, a dream come true. And I was hoping that he was going to be like a cool dude. And it was like he, was so nice and had him on the streets in Oakland and was
so
just
dope.
so cool to everybody and super charismatic. And um, that was definitely like probably one of like the top shoots of my career, just getting to work with somebody like that.
What's the difference of doing a brand project with Steph Curry versus a music video with the artist?
Well, in that scenario, it was super kind of free form as well because I was working directly with his company, Unanimous, and working with the guys over there to put the creative together.
Got it.
So it was actually kind of like writing a music video treatment, and I went through probably like 5 different, takes and versions of it to try and find the perfect, um, you know, thing that made sense for their brand at the time and the release of that shoe.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really cool to be able to be hands on with that creative. Whereas most of the time it's like, we'll get a creative from an agency and then you have to put your kind of spin as a filmmaker on it while staying true to the story that they've worked, super hard on for months to put it together.
I see. Very cool process, man.
Yeah.
When people see a Colin Tilley project, what do you want them to feel?
That's a great question. When people see a Colin Tilley project, I want them to feel emotion. I want them to feel connected to it. And I would just say, yeah, probably emotion and connection. Like, I think those are the most important components to like my music videos and whatnot.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I love it, bro.
Yeah.
I got one last thing for you.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it, man.
I was like, are you doing tarot cards? Like, what do we?
Even better, bro. Even better, my friend.
Light.
Switch up the vibe here. So I got a deck of cards here, okay? These are the
Cool.
official Ourselves cards. There's 50 questions in here.
Great.
You don't have to pull all 50. We're going to do one question.
Cool.
You're going to take this deck. I want you to like intuitively pull a card that feels right to you. Don't actually look at them. Just kind of like find one that feels right. Read the question and give me an answer straight from your heart.
Cool.
All right.
Got you. The Ourselves. Let's see if I can open this.
Yeah. Some of them are like flip-flopped. So.
And you want me to look through a couple of them?
I mean, I'd prefer you just to pull one intuitively, but it's up to you,
Let
bro.
me pull one. If it doesn't feel...
Yeah, if it doesn't feel right, you can switch it up.
Cool.
Very different types of questions, so.
I like the logo, by the way.
Thank you.
What's the one thing you'd like to teach others? I'd like to teach others how important wanting to help the people around you is and how great it actually feels. And that's one thing that I've really latched onto, especially over the last couple of years, is like how great it feels to help other people. And, if you're in a position to be able to help, whether it be teaching or whether it is just helping people realize the greatness in themselves, just how important that is to think outside of, just you and yourself, but to look around and look at the other people around you and, see how great it is to be able to help others.
Yeah, man. Helping others is amazing. It's selfless. It shows how good of a leader you are and how you're even considering those things. And I think that is a beautiful answer, my friend.
Thank you.
Dude, thank you, man. Well, we're about to wrap it up here. Let me just get these back on.
Dude, this was a lot of fun, man.
Dude, I
Thank
appreciate
you for the great questions, too.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, man. Oh, there you go. Thank you for being here, bro.
Of course.
this is honestly, like, again, I said this in the beginning, it's like super full circle for me. And it's so cool how even like one of my clips showed up on your feed, and that's kind of how we're here today almost.
Yeah.
And dude, you're amazing. I'm so excited to see what you have coming next.
Yeah, dude.
You know,
Thank you, man.
I'm
Thank
excited
you.
to keep following along your journey,
And
seeing
you
your
too.
growth.
I know this is gonna be super successful, man.
Thank you, bro.
So I'm excited for you.
I appreciate it. But yeah, thanks y'all for watching. Thanks to my amazing crew who's
Damn, that's a big ass crew, bro.
You know, you already know what it is. Thank y'all for watching. If you like what you hear, if you like Colin's story, if you like learning
Thank you guys.
from
Everybody back there, seriously. Appreciate you big time.
If you want to keep learning from people like him, I would appreciate you to subscribe to whatever platform you're listening on, whether that's Spotify, YouTube, Apple, etc. And yeah, man, I need one last thing from you.
Yeah.
Can you just help me give a big round of applause to ourselves?
Ourselves,
baby.
Nice.
Thank you, brother.
Awesome. Yeah.
Appreciate it, man.